right, so I'm Leanne West. I'm Chief Engineer of Pediatric Technologies at Georgia Tech, but I'm also the president of the International Children's Advisory Network. And yesterday at the conference, as we've done with 2 conferences previously, we held the Young Innovators Workshop. And the Young Innovators Workshop started as kind of a way to get kids from ICANN to the conference here at PEDS 2040 so that the clinicians who are attending PEDS 2040 could know about them, know that they were available, and know that they could help share their stories so that people understand what the kids are going through. So ICANN, this is a picture from our conference from a few years ago in Barcelona. Our mission is really to get kids where they need to be to tell their stories. It's their stories that are really important. They're the ones who understand best what it's like to live with their conditions, and we want to make sure that that patient voice is heard throughout healthcare. We have 24 chapters. I think this says 23, but we do have 24 chapters around the world right now on 4 different continents, so we're really excited about that. Our latest one is in Germany. And the one before that was actually Lori Strong and with Hope for Henry, started one in DC for us. So we're really excited to have that collaboration as well. So our chapters, just to give you a little bit of an idea about what ICANN is and what we do, our chapters all run individually in their local hospitals. They're typically associated with a hospital. They typically work with a child life specialist or a teen advisory board, and some are associated with nonprofits like Hope for Henry. And this is the Georgia chapter, which is the chapter that I belong to. So our youth are anywhere from about 8 to 18. Some chapters have kids who are a little younger. Some chapters have kids all the way through college who want to continue to work with ICANN and be mentors to the younger kids. But we don't really set an exact range. We think that really all voices can make a difference. And we also don't have to have kids who have a specific condition. We take in all conditions. We also have kids who have no conditions, medical conditions, but are just interested in the area of healthcare or maybe working with their friends or their relatives. And I think that that's really important. Especially about 95% of our kids are medically complex. They might have multiple conditions. They might have diabetes, something they have to deal with every day, or it might be a rare disease, and they're never going to meet another kid like them because it's just so rare. And so all of these kids working together is really inspiring to watch. So our youth, we have them do things like talk at conferences and tell their stories so that everybody at the conference can understand what they're going through. We have them talk in front of groups like the FDA and the CDC and NIH to tell their stories to people who are going to set what calls are going to come out for NIH or what the standards might be in some activity or situation. We have them interact with industry. So we actually will have our kids go to an industry partner and tell their stories there and give feedback there. We have industry come to us and maybe do focus groups with our kids at our conference every year so that they can better make devices for these kids. They are also the subject matter expert of their condition. Doctors might know everything about a disease clinically, but these kids understand what it's like to live with it day in and day out. And so we think that their opinion is really important. So what is it like to be a sick kid? We have some kids here that I'm going to do a little video of, and they're going to tell you what it's like to be a sick kid.
I used to get pneumonia when I was younger, around Christmas. About midway through high school year, I started getting it every summer, right before I went to camp. I thankfully have not had pneumonia for the past 2 years, so it's been nice. So I've had a liver transplant when I was 11 months old, and I was recently diagnosed with May-Thurner syndrome. With my transplant, I used to be on a heavy dose of immunosuppressants, so I was always worried about getting sick.
So I have type 1 diabetes. I also have Hashimoto's thyroid disease and chronic solar urticaria. I get stressed about sometimes what other people might think. If I have scars on my arms or on my legs, I get worried sometimes that people might see me differently, or if they hear a beep and my phone goes off from my insulin pump or one of my technologies. Sometimes people don't understand what it is, and that can be kind of hurtful because I don't want to get looked at differently.
Well, I have type 1 diabetes, so I have to test and bolus before I eat and after I eat. You don't feel good.
I have 2 liver transplants. It's just really unimaginable when kids are screaming and crying and they have to strap you down because you can't control yourself. And it's really scary, and your parents don't really like watching it or listening to it. And then it's just not cool for me.
I have cystic fibrosis and I was diagnosed at birth. It makes me feel better when they talk to me about things like not involving my condition. So like me and my nurse practitioner, we'll talk about like my friends, like boys, like it's kind of like gossip. Like we'll talk about everything. And I think it's not about yes, the treatments heal you, but you kind of have to be motivated to do the treatments.
So I had idiopathic angioedema back in 7th grade, and it caused like swelling of the mouth area, I guess, and it hospitalized me a few times that year. So now it's under control though, thankfully. So I think one of the major things that adults should be focused on when treating pediatric patients is I guess taking care of their comfort levels, because when you're a kid you don't always understand everything that's going on. So making sure to explain what you're doing, because it's kind of scary when people are giving you medicine and doing procedures and you don't really know what's going on.
ICANN is the International Children's Advisory Network, and we focus on advocating for pediatric children living with chronic illnesses.
And it's impacted me because it gives me a voice, because I used to be kind of private about me having cystic fibrosis, but now I feel more empowered by it, and I feel like I want to spread awareness and want to help others.
So those are just some of our kids who participate in ICANN in their various chapters around the country and around the world. One thing that has been happening lately, I told you that the Young Innovators Workshop, the first one was 4 years ago. This is the third one. We skipped a year recently, I think. But we have been working with iSpy for a really long time, since the beginning, because both organizations started right around 5 years ago, and I was lucky enough with Sherry Ferrugia to be a part of both organizations as they were starting, and we could see that it really made sense for ICANN and iSpy to work together. ICANN is the patient arm and parent arm, and iSpy as the clinical partner and the hospital partner. And we think that it makes a lot of sense for us to work together. And so, the Young Innovators Workshop, which is what we're here to talk about today, really. You can see some of our kids trying on the HoloLens. So we had kids do a little exercise for us, but we let them all see the HoloLens. This was partnered with Microsoft, and they were kind enough to come down and provide somebody who's an expert. Yep. And I'm going to let him tell you about the HoloLens a little bit. The kids got to see this too before they started playing with it and coming up with their ideas.
All right. Firstly, I want to say, so I'm a father of 2 kids with seizure disorders. So just thank you to everybody in the room for everything you do. And oftentimes I get to work on things that I'm more of a business development type thing. But when I get to participate in something that I think is going to have some real world benefit, that's just super exciting. So thank you. So as you can see here, we've got kids wearing the HoloLens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the HoloLens, its implications in medicine, et cetera, and then we'll talk more about what the kids came up with. So we use the term mixed reality, and so many of you are probably familiar with the term virtual reality or augmented reality. I'm going to explain a little bit about what we mean by mixed reality. So we live and breathe in the physical world, and on the other side of the spectrum, we have the digital world. And if in virtual reality, when you put those goggles on, you're fully immersed. It's as though you're on the surface of Mars or whatever it may be. and you lose the ability to kind of see or interact with the real world. In the middle there, we have phones, et cetera, that you can use for augmented reality. The really cool thing with the HoloLens is that the lenses are completely see-through, and the camera system on the front of the device is able to be aware of the 3D space in front of it, and place holograms on physical objects, identify what the physical objects are, et cetera. So it's a really exciting technology. I could obviously go into it much longer, but we'll show you a video in a moment that will highlight some of the potential in medicine. Okay, so this is a video that I'm going to play with work that we've done with Philips Healthcare, and they're going to be using our HoloLens 2 in the OR.
In the image-guided therapy business of Philips, one patient every single second somewhere on Earth is treated with one of our products. So that's 28 million patients a year could be treated because of the work that we do here. That was the big reason I came to Philips. Image-guided therapy is modern-day surgery without the incision. We're navigating tiny instruments through the body through incisions no larger than a pencil point. We're relying solely on X-ray images or medical imagery to guide us. So that means we are always looking at a screen of data.
With HoloLens, we can take it to the next level. We are a leader in image-guided therapy, and with Azurion, we created an industry-leading platform that customers really love. What's really cool about it is we've leveraged novel touchscreen technology to create a very powerful working spot for the physician. Our ultimate goal is to help doctors do procedures better, to help them innovate the procedure. With HoloLens, we can create a completely different experience, a working domain which is really tailored around the needs of the physician.
For complex procedures, physicians need to go from one screen to the other really rapidly. We can now get these screens to come in just by voice recognition, by eye tracking. This is all about efficiency. If patients are being treated and the procedure can be shortened, it's very beneficial for the patient.
At Philips, we strongly believe that technology is not the goal, technology should be the enabler. What we want is that the physician can just concentrate on the procedure and the patient, get them home faster and healthier. This partnership between Philips and Microsoft can have our users experience something completely new, something almost mind-blowing, something that they didn't think was possible, and help them improve care. That's a breakthrough. That's a complete game changer.
Okay, so yesterday, when we let, I think it was about 14 or 15 kids in age ranges, I believe it was from around 10 years old to 18, we let them try out the HoloLens, the first version of the HoloLens. We don't have the second version here with us today. And we let them experience an application called Insight Heart. So medical education is an area where HoloLens has been applied quite extensively. This application is in the App Store for HoloLens today. It provides you a 3D model of the heart that's animated, so it's beating. You can see what the heart is doing, within a human being, and then above the heart, 4 separate conditions. So you can learn about 4 different cardiological conditions. It'll talk you through it, and then we just let the kids kind of use that as their way to experience holograms and HoloLens for the first time. As another example of an application in medicine, with the HoloLens 1, Case Western University built out a anatomy program that would allow their medical students to experience anatomy in a way that is revolutionary compared to cadavers, et cetera. I mean, like the heart before, if you're looking at a heart from a cadaver, it's you can see its physical structure, but you're not going to see how it's functional when it's actually beating. And so this application from Case Western allows you to observe the skeletal structure, the muscle structure, et cetera. And I think this is just the beginning. We also talked briefly with them about some related technologies, which we didn't go into a whole lot of depth with there, but almost every holographic application that we build at Microsoft with our partners involves artificial intelligence, whether that be having voice commands instead of having to learn the gestures to interact with the holograms. The Internet of Things, oftentimes maybe in a hospital setting, there's a lot of data in these Internet of Things, and so being able to visualize that data with a holographic display may be very advantageous. I have the privilege of having a job in Microsoft where I get to dabble in lots of really cool new technologies. One thing that I've been dabbling with in the last few months is quantum computing, and this is an area that has huge potential to empower the AI of the future. So I think that's something that you're going to see very powerfully soon. So I'm going to pass it back over to Leanne to talk a bit more.
Thanks. Yep. So after we showed them the HoloLens and talked to them a little bit about what the technology was and what people are doing with it right now, we gave them a problem to say, okay, there are lots of kids who, in this particular example, have cancer, and they can't do everything that the kids who are healthy can do. They have to be at the doctor's office while their friends are playing with other friends. They have to be at the doctor's office when other children are going to school. So it's one of those things where we said, okay, so with this technology that you see now, what do you think you could do that would be interesting for the kids at the hospital? What do you think you could do that might make the stay a little bit easier or a little bit better for them? And so we had our kids do some things with some paper and pens and construction paper and try to figure out what they would do so they could show us what they wanted to do. And so you can see here, this is just kind of an array of what one team of the kids thought they might want to do, anything from playing to art to music, whatever it might be. One of the main things that came out from a lot of the kids' presentations were they wanted to be with their friends. So whether it was to be able to hang out virtually with them while you're sitting in the hospital and they're at home, or whether it was to go on a walk with your friends somewhere, or maybe even play games together, where you kind of still got to be like you were together, but it was just being made really cool by the HoloLens. We also had a couple of ideas that went around visiting places that you can't see when you're in the hospital, but you might want to go, like an amusement park, and you can imagine riding the roller coaster and having that view as you go down in the HoloLens. They thought that would be really fun. Or going to see something like the pyramids. I mean, I'd probably like to do that too. I haven't ever been there either, so it would be really cool to be able to have that experience. One of the things that I thought was really cool is when you ask a kid to imagine what you could do with something, then they kind of think outside the box. And so what he wanted to do was to be able to draw something like a dragon and then have the HoloLens take it up, take a picture of it, and make it come to life and have it fly around and have it breathe fire and that type of thing. And so I thought that was really fun and creative. Another thing that came up repeatedly was either trying to learn new things or to be able to keep up with their classes at school. So they could imagine that if you were in the hospital a lot, you might miss some school and you might fall behind. And so they thought that it would be good to not let the kids fall behind if they could do some things through the HoloLens as if they were at school. And then also learning new things like playing the piano. One kid thought it would be awesome to learn how to play the piano, and the HoloLens could guide your fingers as to where you needed to play on the virtual keyboard. I thought that was really fun. And then also one of them was like, I think it would be really cool to be able to plant a garden and plant flowers and watch them grow as kind of more of a sedative activity to help them calm down and help them reduce anxiety, is to focus on something like that, something really beautiful that could grow in front of them. So back to ICANN for 1 second. We have our ICANN conference. Next year it'll happen in July, the second week of July, and it's going to be in Lyon, France. And we would encourage anyone to come and participate in the conference. It's not just for ICANN members. It's for industry. It's for other kids who might want to learn about ICANN or hospitals who might be interested in starting an ICANN chapter. So please join us, because I think it'll be a really fun activity. If you want to learn more about it, you can visit the ICANN website at icannresearch.org, or you can contact me at lwest@georgiatech.edu. And so now we have a couple of the kids who participated in the workshop yesterday, and they were willing to come back today so they could tell you what they thought was really cool about it. So we have Lizette and Estelle Laguerre, and they want to tell you what they thought was cool about the workshop yesterday. So come stand up. Yeah. You're going to go first?
Hi, my name is Lizette Laguerre, and I thought that designing new things for kids who were sick in hospitals was really cool, making like games and types of stuff.
Hi, my name is Estelle Laguerre, and I really enjoyed using the HoloLens and being able to see what you could do with technology and stuff.
Thanks, you two. We're so happy you could come back with us.